As veterans, we struggle to fit in. Taught to never let feelings win. Lost in a world full of fear and pain. We all have hung our heads in shame. When we look up, we see hands reaching out. There is so much support about it. Comes from above and others around. Please take a hand and rise from the ground. Stand up and fight for your life. Walk away from negativity. Don't give in to strife. Show up for yourself. Find your voice. Keep moving forward. You have a choice. Give compassion for the child inside. Healing pain, let hope reside. Lost you will no longer be. Then you can help set others free. Now speak up and with us share the tools that make pain easy to bear. Advocate for others to lighten their load. Use your voice and join our show on Coffee Talk with Bryan and Marie. We heal out loud, PTSD to advocacy.
Gosh, I just love the intro. I really do. I
It
mean,
makes me so happy. It just this again to see my work come alive and to see what you did to it. It's beautiful.
so that kind of like makes me think a little bit like maybe there's something that we can do, and you can send me some of your poems that you want to bring a little bit of life to them, and you tell me like the spin of what kind of like the feeling you want behind it, male, female, vocalist, whatever.
And we could do that instead of me just reading the poem.
Or that too. Yeah, we could just we could throw your poems on and make them actual songs,
Yeah.
and just like that, and play them, and just to kind of give someone a little bit like it. I don't know, that intro right there just inspired me. Like I was like, why don't we just turn a lot of her poems into songs? And you could even, like I said, we could sometimes go hip hop, R&B, rock, country, whatever we want. We could kind of just change it up. We could even ask the listeners, hey,
That's what I
what
was
kind of
just gonna
vibe?
say.
What
Let's
kind of vibe you guys kind of feeling, and help us put together the next song for Coffee Talk. That way we can start playing some of these. But speaking of playing stuff, we're gonna start doing a little something different. Uh Somewhere about the midway of the show, right around about the half an hour to 45-minute mark. We're gonna do a veteran showcase. And what this is gonna be is there's a lot of musicians out there, and a lot of them have music videos on YouTube and stuff like that. We'll play their music videos. We'll also highlight some of the other great veteran podcasts that are out there.
right here, Misfit Nation. I'm wearing their shirt right here.
100%. There's
Yeah.
Misfit Nation. There's Sit Rep.
Check it out.
I mean, there's a plethora of them. And so I don't believe in just taking it in and saying, "Oh, we're a podcast. I don't, you can only listen to us." No, I'm all about spreading. And 2026 is I want that for this show to be more of a let's start showcasing others, and
I
let's
love
start
that.
giving others credit, and let's give them, you know, put them on a pedestal as well, and give them an opportunity. Maybe someone out there that's listening, maybe you've never even heard of these. Uh, you know, there's guys and gals that have great music out there. I'm super excited to kind of do this because there is so many. I don't think we'll run out of people to showcase one way or another. If you're a veteran out there and you're doing amazing things, you have a business, You got a product that you want us to put out there, whatever, we will help you. We will showcase it, and there's no cost, dude. I mean, this right here, you know,
In
the
Brian's
value
words, it's free 99.
exactly, it's free 99. The value that gives, it is just feeling that we're giving back somewhere or another by giving veterans another opportunity to showcase their arts, their crafts, and we want everybody to see how talented this community is as well. Because my gosh, I that's one thing, and it gives me even goosebumps to talk about. It's just all the amazing human beings that are in the veteran community,
Mhm.
and like the hard chargers out there still trying to go do nonprofits, doing selfless acts because they want to help their brothers and sisters, get out of areas. And gosh dang, as we go forward and there's another war going on in our country, we're gonna have men and women coming home with a lot of issues, right? And so who is gonna be there for them? If it's not you, if it's not me, who's it gonna be, right? So I I just want us to be more of a helping of the cause than more like complaining about it and whatever. We want to throw and provide more of the fix, right? We do want to talk about the problem, but we also want to talk about the solution
We
and
wanna
and what
focus
other
on the solution mostly, and that's why,
100%.
when we have guests, we talk about, "Hey, we would like you to share some of what you've been through in your childhood and your military, but we mostly wanna focus, what was your transition like, and how have you been healing through your stuff?" And so that's one of the reasons why we do that. So yes, we want to highlight the problem and focus on the solution.
There you go. Highlight the problem, focus on the solution. I like that. Gosh dang, Marie, she just be coming up with these catchy phrases all the time, and I think we might need to do a T-shirt company with her ass too. You know what I mean? And just start plopping of her little sayings on T-shirts. But
Let's do it.
yeah, how the hell are you doing, anyways? We didn't even get that far. But how you doing today?
I'm doing better, doing okay right now. I, got a new fancy brace.
Cute. The hot pink, huh?
Yeah, so I, as a child, never had casts or braces or anything, and so, I decided to have fun with it. My inner little girl
Why
would
not?
flippin' love this.
Yeah.
It's all bedazzled and pink, and I love it. So that made me kind of feel good yesterday getting this, and it's a lot less bulky than the other one, so I'm excited about that.
It's like if you gotta, wear that, you might as well have some fun with it, right? And,
Yeah,
and it's like, shoot, I'm gonna bedazzle it. Shoot, maybe you can start creating little things and putting it on yourself as well.
there
You
we
know,
go.
take it
Are
to the
how are
next
you
level.
doing?
I'm doing, I gotta say I'm doing well. I mean, I feel like the positive mindset and just keeping the positive and being blessed, and taking on whenever you're blessed, you every day you should wake up and sing praises of your blessings. I mean, and part of it is just waking up and being able to breathe the fresh air and things like that. There's a lot of people out there that are struggling, to get out of bed, to breathe the fresh air, whatever it may be. So, you know,
Yeah.
I'm really just trying to focus so much more on positivity of life. Like I told you, stubbing the toe or anything like that. That just happened to me the other day. I really got myself good, and I was like, it was in the kneecap too, like a dead ass hit to the kneecap, and I was just like, "Pooh, yeah, that one got me good." I actually kind of did that whole laugh it off type thing, and
Yeah.
I was just like rubbing it. I was, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm doing pretty well, and it's a now we finally got everything out of our storage, like I said, and now it's a matter of kind of just settling it all in, and I just kind of working on that and just making ourselves feel at home again, and
Awesome.
so yeah, and I just like I said, wake up and sing my
Finding
praises and
peace.
blessings, and yeah, taking that grace on, and like I said, during this whole time, I learned about grace, having grace and giving grace and receiving grace. You know, uh, things that maybe you just don't think about sometimes. So think a lot of times in life, we all take things for granted in general, right? Until you find yourself in kind of a situation and it really makes you grasp onto like appreciation of a lot of things. And I
Oh,
do
yeah.
believe that God tends to like humble us sometimes before he gives us what we may be deserving of. So when you receive that deserving thing that you're deserving of, you will know how to appreciate and you will know how to spread that to others as well, right? And make them give feel the hope as well and the love and the grace and all the things like, and the the obedience of patience, like that's like patience is a thing and it's hard. But as you get older, you kind of learn to be a little bit more of that samurai, that guy that just has a little bit more patience and that, and you kind of smell the flowers and see the colors and things like that.
So, what's funny is the poem that I'm gonna read today is actually yeah, I know, but it's
It's
actually
always
about
ironic.
yeah, but it's about that idea of, when your life doesn't turn out the way that you want it to, how can you still find joy? And how can you find acceptance and still sing praises and still be grateful for what God has given you? So, I'll read that. Do we wanna go ahead and do we have a commercial today, or you want me to just go straight into the poem?
Yeah, so what I'll do instead of a commercial today, I'm gonna go ahead and rep another, great, author out there, Bill Cushing, The Wall Spent, and a lot of these, I think, are just, like, fictional books, very small, uh, kinda give his life stories and stuff as well, but, another great veteran author, Bill Cushing, check out Time Well Spent, and I do believe he has other ones out there as well, and I do appreciate always, you guys out there sending me books, and I do disclaim to each and every one of them, I am not a reader, but I will definitely show them some love. But all right, let's go ahead and let Marie go ahead and do her poem, and we're gonna have a kind of a first time. I mean, she's done a in person, but not at her house. So we're gonna have an in person interview. So we're gonna be ready for that. So the floor is now yours.
Okay, so this poem is called The Morning After Morning. As most of you guys know, next week I am getting a hysterectomy and I have dealt with a lot of wondering what my life could have been, a lot of sadness for, as most of you know, I have a genetic condition called hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, where my body just creates a defective collagen and my body is deteriorating. And along with that, there's a lot of radical acceptance of recognizing that my life will never be what I thought it will be. And of that, allowing myself to mourn what my life was and what it could have been. And so this is a poem that I will read, and it's called The Morning After Morning. Mourning what my life was like and what it could have been is a wound I struggle with. It tends to deepen anytime I let my guard down and fear gets inside. It crawls into my deepest parts where trauma still resides. Fear says my life's not worth it when it doesn't look just like all the fairy tales I read inside a book. A prince with perfect kids, a castle and a horse, never graying hair, and a perfect bod, of course. A picture in a child's mind, an escape from reality. This can help them face their world's actual brutality. I never really bought into the fairy tales I read. My eyes opened early, nightmares outside of bed. I tried hard not to stipulate too much what my future looked like, only just a touch. A healthy body, kids around, and maybe some land. A husband at my beck and call. A great job I could stand. I thought it was okay to have these expectations, yet unmet resentments came from the frustrations. Body and brain hurt from war, genetics, and life choices. My home will never be filled with little voices. The job I had planned is in an alternate reality. My marriage now is an interesting duality. Connection and love present, yet I try to force it. I'm learning to let go and how to just enjoy it. Life does not look the way I had it planned. And sometimes that is really hard to understand. So I let myself cry with tears streaming down. I know these emotions will not make me drown. Every morning I wake up from a night of mourning. I tend to feel the light of Christ and God's love outpouring. This is different from days past. I'd wake up hungover. Instead of mourning things I'd lost, I felt like life was over. I couldn't face realities and had to drown them out. I didn't know I had a voice or someone to hear me shout. Now, when things are heavy, I reach for God in prayer. He helps me feel comfort within every layer. I find worth inside when His guidance is sought, even though my life may not look the way I thought.
Outstanding. Another great one. All right. Well, go ahead and give our next guest introduction, and then we'll go ahead and bring them on in.
Okay, so I am super excited to announce this guest. His name is Kayle Smith. I actually met him at we had a small business Christmas, a veteran owned small business Christmas fair back in November. And I met Kayle there, and he's doing some really wonderful things. He works for the Utah Department of Veteran and Military Affairs. And so he is connected to all of the organizations that I've gotten connected to in the last year. He is one of the ones who helps get them all organized, basically. So, Command Sergeant Major R. Kayle Smith was born on 15 May 1973 in American Fork, Utah, which is about an hour away from here. He grew up in Mount Pleasant, Utah, where he attended and graduated from San Pete High School in 1991. He enlisted and entered the military service in the United States Marine Corps on
Er,
26 November 1991. He retired from military service as the Army Land Component Command Sergeant Major of the Utah Army National Guard in November of 2019. So we just did an interview for someone who went Marines to Air Force. Now we're doing someone who went Marines to Army. I love it.
what are they thinking? Nah.
Yeah. Upon retirement from the military, he is he and it looks like he got out 2019, so right before COVID. Our other guy retired the year of COVID, so this will
Right.
be fun.
Wow.
Upon retirement from the military, he is dedicating a second career to supporting service members, veterans, and their families through resilience and prevention initiatives. He joined the Utah Department of Veterans and Military Affairs as the Prevention and Resiliency Program Manager. He is dedicated. He is a dedicated advocate for service member, veteran, and family member suicide prevention at the federal, state, and community level. Kayle is a member of the Utah Governor's Challenge Team to prevent suicide. His mission is to support those who currently serve or who have served in the military and their families by providing education and resources available to the military connected community. Ultimately, Kayle aims to work himself out of a job by achieving a future with zero veteran suicides. Kayle resides in Payson, Utah, which is about an hour and a half south, and where he spends his time supporting his wife, Shelly, their 4 children, their grandchildren, and the family dog. Kayle, come on over. So
All
we
right. Welcome in.
Yeah, we are live at my house. I have Kayle here. I am so excited to have him here. And Kayle, we are so excited to have you.
Happy to be here. It's an
Absolutely.
honor.
Well, let's get to know all about Kel, and you have an outstanding introduction, so we're super excited. Um, Especially you're a Marine, that's badass. And obviously you saw something and went a different direction. So interested to hear a little bit about give us your background, where you grew up. Just give us like a broad overview of kind of where you grew up, a little bit about your military experience, and then really kind of give us a lot of how that transition looked when you decided 2019 you're done. And I imagine as the longer you stay in, the harder the adjustments got to be. I know the retirement pay isn't really something that someone can go live on, comfortably. So I imagine a lot of you guys are out there looking for, employment and stuff. So I imagine there's lot that we're going to want to hear about from you on that end. So floor is all yours.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it. And appreciate it, Marie, the great introduction and stuff. I'm always a little embarrassed when people read my bio because really I was just able to do what I love for a long time. But as stated, I'm from Utah. I'm a citizen of Utah. Uh, Born in American Fork, Utah, but grew up in Central Utah. Central Utah is a very blue collar community, hardworking individuals, ranchers, farmers, and coal miners are really the main trade um, down in Central Utah. My dad was as well as my father-in-law were both coal miners, and my dad was also in the Utah National Guard. I was that kid, grew up pretty much always knowing I was going to go in the military. Always something that I wanted to do. Um, my brothers and I have two brothers who are also retired from the military. But us and our friends, we grew up down in the fields, in the creeks, and you know, reminiscing and acting out the Vietnam War movies that we'd seen, but what a great place to grow up and to have that experience. And but 1991, senior in high school, um, Operation Desert Storm broke out. I was a senior. It was towards the end of the year. I was done with my studies, just wasting my time, not knowing why I hadn't already graduated. But my dad and my older brother deployed in support of Operation Desert Storm. They didn't actually go into Kuwait or Iraq, but they were the contingency force that was supposed to go in through Turkey later. But they were at the 1457th Engineer Battalion and ended up spending their time in Germany in support of that. But And I felt a little bit left out. I was a senior in high school, and I wanted to do that. We're a very military connected family. My uncle, I'm going to dime him out here a little bit, but my uncle, Master Sergeant retired Randy Adams, he was actually the recruiter for the Utah National Guard. And I called him up and I said, "Hey, I want to get in. I want to join. I want to go. I want to participate in this." And the year previous in high school, I was a wrestler, and I actually got body slammed, and I had a couple back injuries. I had a couple bulged discs in my back and a stress fracture. And he's like, "Well, there's nothing I can do for you." And I was like, "Well, that's not the answer I wanted to hear." And so I called the Marine recruiter up, Staff Sergeant Moody, still remember
They'll
him.
take everyone.
Yep. And I'm a testament to that. And he went and talked to my doctor. I don't know what was said or what was done, but 2 weeks later, I was enlisted in the United States Marine Corps. I was in the combat arms package, so I could have been a tanker, uh, combat engineer, field artillery, um, or Amtrak's. That was kind of the package. So I could have been any one of them.
Open contract a little bit, but more
Yeah.
narrowed down to
Right. But timing and everything else, I fell into the field artillery. So
I when I deployed, I worked with the field artillery guys, so I love it.
great.
Yeah.
I'm a artilleryman by trade. Spent 4 years there on Camp Pendleton with the 11th Marines, both Alpha and Charlie Battery of the 11th Marines. Had a great Marine Corps experience. I'll get into that a little bit more. But as I stated a few minutes ago, I have tons of family that are military. When I joined the Marine Corps, my uncle was active duty in the Marine Corps at the time. He was down at Yuma Proving Grounds. He was uh, worked on he was the OIC of the avionics department for the Harrier jets down there. And then, so we'll get into this a little bit more as well. But my cousin, who also graduated in 1991, he joined the Marine Corps as well. So it's something we kind of did together. He was a couple weeks ahead of me in training and stuff, but a decision we both decided to do. And so we both joined the Marine Corps.
Same with me
Had a
and my
great
cousin.
Marine. Yeah. I drank that Kool-Aid, and ate the crayons too. Not
Was
I
it
was
was it
older.
crayon flavored? Was it crayon
I was
flavored Kool-Aid?
I well,
Oh yeah,
the
everything.
crayon flavored Kool-Aid. I don't know. I like the green crayons though because I
Same.
kind of envisioned them with apple flavoring, even though they didn't have any. But yeah. So that's a little bit about my background. And where I grew up and how I got into the military, how I joined the military, and after 4 years, I decided to get out of the Marine Corps. I got out.
What rank did you get out as? Corporal,
So as a
sergeant, or did you get
corporal,
yourself put in trouble and you were a lance coolie?
so it's funny you bring that up, Brian. So I was
I
a
know how it
corporal.
works.
I was a corporal promotable to sergeant. Um, But ultimately, here's one of the reasons I got out, and which goes a little bit more into my story. But I uh, I did 60 days in the brig in the United States Marine Corps.
What'd
Mm,
you do?
I was a corporal promotable to sergeant.
orange
I actually
suits.
and I actually got in a fight with a lance corporal, and
Yeah, that will do it every time.
In my court martial, I told the judge in the court martial that if situations been the same, I'd probably do the same thing over again. So I
Now,
didn't
were you
help out.
guys lance corporals together and you picked up, or was this
No, I
something
was
you were
already a
assigned?
corporal. He was a
Okay, okay,
lance corporal.
okay, okay.
But yeah, I had a great, like I said, I love the Marine Corps. Have no ill feelings towards the Marine Corps. I was meritorious promoted to corporal. Um, I I was selected for sergeant. My promotion just hadn't come through. But during that 60 days in the brig in the Marine Corps, had some dark times. I was, you know, worried about perception of what my parents and my uncle, who was a major in the Marine Corps at the time, and it wasn't even so much about me, but worrying about all of the other people in my life that I disappointed at that time, and worried about their perception and what they thought, and luckily I was very fortunate. The UCMJ, the Marine Corps judicial process, they were pretty easy on me. I didn't lose any rank, or I didn't lose any pay or anything like
Damn,
that.
that you're
Uh,
good, man. Because usually when you go to the brig, a lot of guys come back as
yeah.
a private, you know what I
Yep.
Yep.
mean? And so you got
So
very fortunate.
so I do. I consider myself very
You ever have
fortunate.
to do any trash details or anything like that? Did anybody they come pick
Oh
you up
yeah,
and you
I
have to
was
go
out
do
on
some
the
trash?
road. I was out on
Yeah,
the road in the orange jumpsuit,
yeah,
picking up
yeah.
trash and weed eating the base and stuff.
Beautifying
Yeah.
Camp Pendleton or somewhere, wherever the hell you were.
Yeah, well, actually one day we were out and we was picking up trash that day, I believe, and our unit was at the fueling station fueling up their vehicles to go to the field. And yeah, that was a little embarrassing, and in your orange jumpsuit
Oh,
and
usually with
the
brig rats, like, "Oh, hey, we're going to get some brig rats to come help do the work." I was
yeah.
like, "Oh, yeah."
So I resemble that remark.
Oh, shit.
But a couple of the guys from the unit come over to talk to me and stuff, and the guards yelling at them to get back and get away. It
Right.
was
Yeah.
it was pretty funny. But again,
It is now,
um,
right? I mean, back
yeah,
then, I imagine it was like sucked, right? I mean,
What
you're
the hell did
embracing
I
the
get
suck.
myself into?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, now you went from was it kinda like going back to boot camp a little bit, the break, man? Because
Yes and no, but and I have to be careful in saying this, but it was actually pretty good because I'd been an NCO for a long time, in my, and in the brig, all I had to worry about was me.
yeah, no
And
more yeah, the responsibility part, right?
yeah,
Over
and it
some
was
knuckleheads.
Yep, it was
Yeah.
actually kind of nice that I didn't have to worry really
I get
about
that.
anything else during that time.
You're kind of
I I
back to
I
being
get that.
told what to do and
Yeah.
where to be and stuff like that instead of you having to tell other people what to
Yeah.
do and where to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't see much value of being in the brig and spit shining my boots and having to iron my orange jumpsuit, but that's okay. I was just there and I was fine. Someone else telling me what to do and what I needed to do to get through that.
So you guys were back in when you had to iron and shine and all
Oh yeah.
that crap. I got so
Yep.
lucky. I had the easy
So,
ACUs and
I was
the
in
tan
between.
boots that didn't have to be done at all. So I was super lucky.
So when I first joined in the year I joined in the year 2000, right? They issued me it was regular camis, and we had to spit shine our boots, we had to iron every day, every night, right? And before reporting the next day. Um, then about 2002, they implemented the digis.
Yeah.
Now, I had to go buy a pair if I wanted to have them. The other guys were getting them issued as they were coming out of boot camp at that point in time. But I started looking at these fools coming in, all these boots, and they're freaking not having to iron their shit, not have to spit shine their boots. I was like so envious.
Oh yeah.
Because I wanted to just find a reason to like, but then I was like, I'm gonna go buy me a pair now, dude. I was
Yep.
like, all you do is wash these things now?
Yep.
What? Okay.
Yep, that was
I
a
got the
good
best of both
day.
worlds.
Although I miss, the meticulousness of the appearance of a good starched out
How
set
much
of
starch did you
BDUs.
have in your camis,
Oh,
right? Like, I
so
mean, they
much
just sit
starch.
there
You
and
had to
pop.
peel them apart, yeah. But it was good, but I didn't miss spit shining boots every night though. I was past that, so
So you
yeah.
guys actually had to like spit on your boots and shine them?
Well,
Straight up. I
it's
did.
called spit shine, but there's a process, yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, you can get water and do it with the water, but I mean, or you can just kind of spit on it. But yes, there is a little bit of a thing that they
Yep.
teach you.
But
That's miserable.
yeah, so I had about 6 months left in the Marine Corps after I got out of the brig. Um, did a lot of thinking in the brig during that time. It was also during the Clinton administration, downsizing the Marine Corps and stuff. And I I had
Probably had
when I
one of
joined the
these
Marine.
suckers, huh?
Yep, got that. Yep, but
We got a special one for being Mormon. We had ours were red.
yep,
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
red set
Yep.
and it has the Book of Mormon added with
Yep, it's
ours,
got the
but
Book of Mormon, the
but
Bible, or the Book of Mormon, the Old Testament, the New Testament,
Is
and
that
then
right? Oh,
Doctrine and
sheesh.
Covenants and Pearl of
Pearl
Great
Great Price.
Price. So we had 4 books
Yep.
that we got.
But no, Brian, I'm glad you brought that up because that's exactly what happened to me in the brig. It is I had a lot of time for reflection and for prayer and wondering what the heck happened and how my life had got me to this point in time. And so ultimately, I decided after that, initially going into the Marine Corps, I had all intentions of doing a career in the Marine Corps. And then, um, but after that, I decided to get out. I decided to EAS out of the Marine Corps. And
Now, did you give yourself a little bit of a bad taste in your mouth after that experience? I mean, it kind of did it. Was it kind of one of the driving forces? You just kind of felt like it wasn't aligning maybe with the way you're feeling, or what kind of drove you to really kind of get out at that rate?
well, like I mentioned, I also had some substance abuse problems at the time prior to
Gotcha.
going into the brig and stuff. And
There we go. Okay.
I had just back home. one of my best friends had actually just been paralyzed in a
Mm.
automobile accident from drinking, and I could see myself on that same path, and I thought I need to make some change in my life, and I need to do some things differently, and so
'Cause if you were living in those barracks, it's easy to go a little haywire, right?
yeah, well, there's other stories I could tell, but I won't
Sure.
here.
No, yep.
It's
But
We'll
it's
bring you
aw
on to my other show and have you talk
yeah.
way more in depth about all that kinda stuff.
but
It's awesome that you started recognizing that in the military.
Yeah,
When I was in the army is
absolutely.
when my alcoholism really got bad, and they put me in a program, and I didn't take it serious. So then it took
Well, I think the
another
brig gave him no point.
it took another 10 years for me to get sober
yeah,
after the military. And so well, 6 years after the military, but 10 years after that program. So I
yeah,
think it's awesome that you started recognizing that you needed the changes.
yeah,
That rock bottom, I think the brig
yeah,
really, because he had solidarity, right? And he
yeah,
had alone time. So he, like he said, he started contemplating and saying, like, "Good, how did I end up here?" Right? Like he really had to question all that. And then he had to
well,
start probably facing realities at that time too, because you had to own some things too that,
yep,
you led yourself kind of there, right?
right.
And a lot of people want to blame everybody else, but sometimes you got to look in the mirror, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I had some rehab time. So,
Yeah.
I
Yep,
mean,
exactly.
so,
Right. Clear your
which
mind a little bit.
yeah, which didn't hurt any, at
Sure.
all. So, yeah, that was good. And then, 5, 6 months left in the Marine Corps when I got out of the brig. Um, Still kind of had all intentions of staying in. I actually just submitted my papers to go to the drill field. And but There was some other things going on. Marine Corps at the time was real big on hazing and putting a stop to
Mm.
hazing in the Marine Corps. I didn't mention that but our unit was pretty bad with that at the time, and as an NCO, I was caught up in that, and
Oh yeah.
um,
Easy. Easy to get caught up.
realized that that's not the type of leadership I wanted to be either,
Sure.
and so which kind of led to my decision of getting out of the Marine Corps. I got out of the Marine Corps in December of '95, and a couple weeks later, I was enlisted in the Utah National Guard. My dad and both my brothers, my uncle had all served in the Guard. My dad and my well, they were all still in the Utah National Guard at the time, and
So you guys were all in it together at that
Mhm.
point. That's
Yeah.
Ah,
awesome.
that's
That's
great.
fun.
And the Utah
Generational.
National Guard is a big field artillery state, which worked out well for me because just coming with my field artillery background. So ultimately, then I met my wife, and we needed a full time job, a full time gig. And most of the active Guard reserve jobs in the National Guard are either administrative or logistics or operations. So I became a supply guy in order to get a full time job, but still did so. Well, I was in supply in the field artillery, so kind of kind of worked out that way. But then I did all sorts of different things: operations, logistics, even some HR. Had a great opportunity to really learn and expand myself, and to serve a
A lot of
great
diversity. Yeah, you
yeah.
definitely got diverse.
How long did you end up, staying in there?
So I was in the Guard total for almost 24 years. So
Wow.
yeah,
Oh my gosh. So you went
so
over retirement.
yeah, and you mentioned retirement a little bit. I did all like I said, I did all sorts of different things during my time in the Utah National Guard. At first, it was kind of just a job for me, because I needed a job and I needed to support my family. But it really grew into I loved the National Guard, specifically the Utah National Guard, um, especially when I deployed with the Utah National Guard, for Operation Iraqi Freedom back in 2005, 2006. And I learned firsthand all of the great things that the National Guard brings to a unit or to a deployment, that we were so self-sustaining. Not only did we do well at our field artillery mission, but we had people on our unit that were school teachers and police officers and carpenters and electricians and
So I imagine it's pretty flippin' awesome to be in the Guard and deploy with the Guard or reserves because of the fact that everybody is part of the same community. And
yeah,
so it's not just we're stuck in this one area all the time, every
yeah,
day, eating, sleeping, drinking, everything the same. But no, it's you guys are in this bigger, larger community
yeah.
that continues to work together even when you're not at work. And I imagine that that's probably pretty rewarding.
Absolutely. And good and bad.
Yeah.
The bad is that you've known most of these people for your whole life.
Yeah.
I was kind of the exception. The unit I deployed with, the 222nd Field Artillery out of Southern Utah, I promoted into that battalion. So I'm the new guy. So we moved down to Southern Utah for that promotion and then got deployed. Most of my platoon, I was a platoon sergeant at the time, most of my platoon were all from Beaver High School. And pretty much all of them have known each other for their whole lives. And again, for the good or the bad. But really gave us that sense of taking care of each other.
Yeah.
Because you know their mom and dad or their cousins or their wife and it really gave us the opportunity for cohesiveness and to gel together though.
That's outstanding. Well, you know what? We're at that point where we're going to kind of do this new thing. We're going to call it Veteran Showcase, and we're going to showcase some amazing veterans out there doing amazing things. We have a lot of great musicians out there. This guy right here is a Marine veteran, Scotty Fraser. He is just an amazing dude. And as I've been going through a lot of my struggles and stuff, that dude was reaching out to me daily and just constantly checking up on me. And you know, I've never gotten to meet Scotty personally, but because we're Marines and we've met through the podcast world, we just have a connection, you know, and it's instant love for one another and instant, you know, checking up on each other. I texted him today even, you know, I was just like, "Hey man, how you doing? I hope you have an amazing day." I just, you know, he's just an inspiration to me because he, like I said, he just checked up on me every single day, dude. You know, and it's just like, wow, you know, he didn't have to go throughout his day to do that. And he's in Texas, you know, so I'm happy to showcase him as kind of one of our first showcases that we're doing. So stand by and we'll get this going and enjoy.
I was running with the devil down a dead end road. Couldn't find what I was looking for, so I ain't looking back no more. I know I'm not alone. You take my soul down redemption road. You've never let me go, so take my soul down redemption road. I was running from a broken past down a dead end road, but you can't go forward when you're looking back. So I ain't looking back no more. I know I'm not alone. You take my soul down redemption road. You've never let me go. So take my soul down redemption road. I know I'm not alone. You take my soul down redemption road. You've never let me go. You take my soul down redemption road. I know I'm not alone. You take my soul down redemption road. You've never let me go. You take my soul down redemption road. Down redemption road.
Whoop.
That was awesome.
That was outstanding. That is Scotty Frazier. Once again, he is a United States Marine veteran. Absolutely amazing. He was a a grunt, and I know he was part of Operation Iraqi Freedom and stuff like that. I know he saw a lot of stuff, and but he is one of those guys out there. He heals through his music. A lot of his music definitely will relate to the veteran population. And I don't know of anybody that probably cares more about their brothers and sister than Scotty Frazier. I tell you what. And you know what? It's $3.99, guys, to go over to YouTube and go check Mr. Frazier out and give him some love. And yeah, so that is our first veteran showcase, and I hope you guys enjoy that. Gives you a little bit of a break in between. And now we're going to get right back to Kel. And so now, Kel, we're going to want to listen and hear more about like what that life was getting out. Now, I imagine because being in the National Guard, right, you already had to kind of adjust to civilian life as because National Guard isn't every day, right? I mean, you unless you got activated during your time, but we'll hear more about that.
Yeah, I did. There was a transition process for sure, but I was pretty fortunate. I became what's called active guard reserve, where I was full time for the Utah National Guard. So
Ah,
all
okay.
all the full time benefits, and so yeah, I'm in the civilian community, but but still active duty military. Kind of the best hidden secret out there. I won't go into a lot of detail, but it was very good. Provided a
Well, you get
great
the best of both worlds, really, at that rate. I mean, my gosh,
yeah, absolutely.
that's why you're like,
Yeah,
you know?
don't but no, it was good, and I was very blessed and fortunate. Provided a great living for my family and I, and but like I stated earlier, I learned what started as a job became a passion for me. In that to see everything that units from not only within the Utah National Guard, but reserve units and reserve component units across the spectrum have to bring to the fight, and I know a lot of times we get kind of sneered at by our active duty counterparts. But uh, from experience, I would put a reserve component unit up against an active component unit almost any time. And
Well, definitely during the early 2000s and even like the mid 2000s, a lot of who ended up going out to the big sandbox was a lot of
yep,
reserve units. They got
right,
activated, and a lot of
yep,
those reserve units were no longer reserve units. They were some of them were spending a lot longer than
yep,
enlisted out
yep.
in the desert.
And that was our case absolutely for the Utah National Guard. Every unit in the Utah National Guard, both Air and Army, deployed in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom, and sometimes two and three times.
Mhm.
And but with that though, we see the effects of what that brought. We're seeing that today in our communities and stuff. So I wanted to shift gears just a little bit and kind of tell the why about what I do, and why I work for the Utah Department of Veterans and Military Affairs, and the work that we're doing. I was telling Maria earlier that I mentioned earlier my uncle that was a mass sergeant that's a recruiter, and my cousin that joined the Marine Corps back in 1991, the same time as I did. Um, Unfortunately, they're no longer here with us.
Mm.
So both of them military connected, and but for one reason or another, both of them ended up taking their lives. And when I retired out of the military in 2019, so this is my fourth job since I retired from the military in 2019. And I found value in all of those jobs. Um, One being I was ROTC at Brigham Young University. One was I was the director of Veteran Resource Center, the director of Veteran Services at we call it MASH now. We changed the name to Military Affiliated Student Hub. But at Utah Valley University, I was the director there. But happy, but not happy, if that makes sense, and realized what am I really doing, and am I making an effect on our military service members, their families, and veterans that are struggling. And I was doing what I could for those that were military connected at the university, but really didn't feel like I was making much of a difference. And so um, my friend Michael Miller, he had just started with the department. He does family programs. He's a family program manager, new position for our department to help out with some of the nuances that are going on and to connect people with resources. And he called me up and he said, "Hey, there's this position coming open. What do you think?" And again, after some prayer and reflection and some decided that that was something I thought I could do to make a difference, and something um, you know I if only one, if I can help one person to still be here tomorrow, then this job is worth it for me. It's not a joke in my bio when you read that my goal is to work myself out of a job, by there being no veteran suicide. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing that happening anytime soon right now. But
Yeah, in the current situation that we're going through,
yep,
there may be another influx of a lot of mental health issues that that we may have to really help. But I'm hoping, right, that
yeah,
we've learned along the ways because I know when I came out of the 2000, rather than that time frame, I got out 2004. And we were knee deep in the war. So
yep,
there was no time for them to even transition any of us getting out at that time. They were just, all right, you were getting out. Here, go through. Here's your check list, and here's what you need to do. And
yep,
they didn't change from the peacetime to what there probably needs to be a couple more check boxes for someone who just came from the combat zone, right? So,
Yep.
I mean, I know you guys are going to be experiencing a lot more, and I hope that a lot of these organizations, you're getting your practice now, right? Because I think in the next
Yeah.
10 to 15 more years, we're going to have another influx of um, brothers and sisters going through something.
No, absolutely. And yeah, I unfortunately, and we anticipate that influx coming, and which is hard. I've been in this position for almost 18 months now, and sometimes I wake up and I want, man, what am I doing? Am I even making a difference? Am I helping out here? Go ahead,
I
Mike.
feel
So
that.
I want to say, from oh, I'm probably going to get emotional with this. Kayle, what you are doing does make a difference. I've seen the work that you've been doing with some of these nonprofits in the area and helping them to thrive and to go and to move. And if it makes no, this is me being selfish, right? If you can't see that it helps anybody else, it helps me. And it's made a difference. And it's beautiful to see the work that you are doing. So know that it does make a difference, even if it's just for one person. It does. It really does.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And thank you. That just gave me 5 more years. So and because no, that's huge. Because that's what we all want, right? Is to know that we're making a difference and to helping someone else, to include uh our director of the Utah Department of Veterans and Military Affairs, Gary Harder, who's on the governor's cabinet. What are we going to do? How do we get ahead of this? And we work closely with the VA and other organizations. Like was mentioned in my bio, we have the governor's challenge team to prevent suicide amongst service members, veterans, and families. But as you guys probably know and are aware, there's so many resources, there's so many things out there. How do we tie those resources to the people that need them? And so Corey Pearson, my boss, one of our um, uh, assistant directors of our department, he works specifically with the veteran side of things, and we thought, well, uh, you know, what about a resource or a wellness fair type thing? So we started this, and I'll get into this in just a minute. Mission Ready is what we decided to name it, but we started this as a wellness fair, and and we did our first one last July at Salt Lake Community College. We had 60 plus exhibitors there, and we had between 3 and 400 participants come and receive resources, whether that be get connected with a veteran service officer for disability stuff, to see all the different community resources that are out there to help with mental health and wellness, to get connected with the VA, or whatever that may be. Education, we had universities there, as well as both the VBA and the VHA, to explain systems that are there to support our veteran, not only our veteran, but our veteran and service member and military communities and their families. And so we started these fairs. We've done 2 now. We did our first one, like I mentioned, at Salt Lake Community College last July. We just held one in February 21st down in St. George,
Which
which
is a
is,
couple hours south from
yeah,
here.
which is southern Utah. Our director wants us getting resources in the community to the people where the people are at. And one thing we overlook a lot of times is there's tons of resources available within the community, through, like here in Utah, we have Utah Department of Health and Human Services. They have a whole department for suicide prevention. Carol Riddell,
I
she's
didn't know that.
amazing. All this Live on Utah stuff that you see on billboards and commercials and things like that, that's from Utah Department of Health and Human Services. Carol is one of our chairs for the Governor's Challenge team to prevent suicide. And
Awesome.
and
Now, do you think that in your guys' community that there's a good communication line that is able to reach? Because I feel like a lot of communities have a lot of services, but it's hard for them to communicate it to the actual community that, hey, we got all these services over here, guys. And then, a lot of people tend to start going outside of the community because they don't even realize that their own community provides some of these care. I mean, and so how do you guys communicate that you guys, have these things? And I know through the wellness, when you do your wellness things like that, and you have
Yeah.
people come in, and that's another way to get it out there, networking. But, how do you get it out to, like, a little bit of the people that might be a little bit, especially in the veteran community, they're a little more shell shocked, right?
Yep. Yep.
Kinda like to stay home, kinda keep to themselves, hard to get out of their comfort zones.
Yeah. No, great question, Brian. And initially, my answer would be no. I don't think we have a great communication platform to get information on resources out there. I think we're getting better, and I think we're
Yes.
doing better. And I think one of those reasons is through these mission ready resource fairs.
Love it. Yep.
And
So one of the things I just wanted to say
yeah,
with that, a lot of at least our local community here, a lot of the nonprofits are all connected to each other. A lot of the veteran resources are connected to each other. So we've got the what I've seen at least on social media has been blowing up out here, where we've got the Utah
yeah,
Department of Veteran and Military Affairs connected with the Veteran Business Resource Center,
yeah,
connected with all of the local
That's
veteran
called
businesses
networking.
and
Yep.
all of the local nonprofits.
yeah.
And we have all developed this huge chain of communication through
Working
social
together,
media
not
right
against
now.
each other,
Yes.
Right.
right? Because
Yep.
that's the
And
biggest problem with a lot of these people. They
yes.
start fighting again. Well,
Most of
ours
it,
is this and ours is that. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So
Yep.
And most of it, what I've seen is Facebook. So, like, and I know a lot of people focus on some of the other social medias because it's a lot
sure,
quick and easy, but the Facebook
use the
community
platform.
here in Utah is giant. And so
Yep.
that's where I've seen a lot of the bridges get gapped
Yep.
out here.
Great.
Yep.
That's outstanding.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, Marie.
A lot of people can learn from that because that is a big problem, right? And like I just stated, that instead of these nonprofits working together and doing things together, they start working against each other. And then, like, because I mean, I know as a podcaster, I've interviewed them, and they're like, "Well, stay away from them." I'm like, "Hold up, I haven't even met them." You know what I mean? But like,
No,
let
when
me
I
get a
tell you,
chance. So
Brian, when I tell you the Utah veteran community is amazing, this is the best community that I have met.
that's great.
And
Yeah.
like
No,
seriously,
and getting to
so
know. I
many
mean,
people, so many
I
people
mean,
working
through you,
together.
Marie, I've learned a lot about you, how much Utah has to offer, and a lot of our guests are people in your community leading these things. So it is absolutely great to hear. And like I said, there's so much that can be learned from these communities. I feel like people always try to focus on the bigger picture, and they're out looking outside of their community for help out, like at a state level or even
Yep.
at a federal level.
Right.
When it's like, hey, drill into where you guys can control, and you guys can really legit help each other. And that's another thing you guys can start talking about. How the hell can we get this out to everybody to
Well,
ensure that our brothers and sisters that don't want to listen are able to hear us?
yeah. No, great comments, Brian. And that's exactly right. It's about community, right? And as an organization signs up to be an exhibitor, which we're kind of reluctant on who we allow to be exhibitors. This isn't come make money off the veteran population or the veteran
Right.
community.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is
How to capitalize on us.
what do you have to support and how do you support our veteran military connected community? And when someone signs up to an exhibitor, our department, we build a social media pack and we ask that our partners that are coming to exhibit it put this out through your channels and stuff. You help us um, market for this to get participants there because it benefits us all that way. And I'll give you a few examples of some of the organizations that we have coming to this next one. Travis Manion Foundation. Don't know if you've ever heard of it, but they work a lot in suicide prevention and resilience. Just heard of them a few months ago, and I'm like, how did I not know about you guys? And really, I find out about different organizations all the time that support our military connected community. But there's an organization called Leaving the Sideline. We have Continue Mission, who is up here in this area. When there's someone in crisis, they send someone out. We have Department of Health and Human Services, Safe Utah. We also have which Safe Utah, and you've heard of the 988 option 1 suicide crisis line. We have those teams with MCOT teams and different things, but we just have this huge network of resources that'll be at these fairs. As we know that there's not one thing that could put anyone for that matter, but specifically a military connected individual into crisis. It could be they just transitioned from the military. They're having a hard time finding a job. So we have the Utah Department of Workforce Services. They have a veteran section. We have them there at these fairs so that they can help veterans that are looking for employment or looking for better employment, spouse employment organizations, but as well as our local universities that come and they can tell how they can help a military connected student or the veteran themselves with education benefits to attend university at their schools. And so great event at this next one we have coming up on the 18th of April.
I'm trying to pull up the flyer right now so that we can have it up.
Yep, at the Hill Air Force Base Museum, which will be
There
a
we
great
go.
venue for this. We've got 75 exhibitors signed up right now. We've got some food trucks and stuff. We at these events we do door prizes. One of the big things we try to instill at these fairs as well is um, prevention, and not just for the veteran or the military service member, but for families as well. So we give out door prizes. Our grand prize that someone can walk away with and win at this fair is a 48 gun safe.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
yeah, and but just a way to one to help get people in the doors, but two because there's so many resources there, and to have them leave with something to feel appreciated. Because you've all seen the data, you know the statistics. Only 1% of our nation has ever raised their right arm to the square and made an oath.
A little less than 1%.
Yeah, it's less than 1%.
Yep.
But taking that oath to defend our Constitution and defend our nation. And so we need to give a little bit back and we need to be appreciative of them and help them with those things that they need help with. So,
I love that you guys are doing this, and I'm putting it out there just for everybody to know. I will be having a booth at that. So if you are in Utah in the area, April 18th,
Yep.
I will be having a booth. We're going to have some flyers for the podcast. I'm going to talk about the recovery advocacy that I do and also have my book out there. And so if you can make it, please feel free to come. I'm posting this on my Facebook page, and if you are interested in becoming an exhibitor, please, 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 if you're here in Utah, sign up for it. And we're so excited that Kayle and them are setting this up, and it's just a fantastic, fantastic resource.
yep. Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yep,
Can I
and, if
Yes?
you're up
can I
in
do
the
one more?
northern Utah area, make sure you go check it out. It will be on April 18th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's the Northern Utah Military Veteran and Family Wellness Fair. Just definitely, I'm sure if you Google it, you'll be able to find it as
Yeah.
well
Yep.
for you guys on the audio side, and we'll try to put something, link in the description as
Yeah.
well. So by the time this drops, it probably should be right around that, that upcoming weekend or something that it's going to be happening, or the next of the upcoming week. So go check it out if you're in that area.
Yeah. Okay, Kayle, we are getting close on time, so why don't we have you finish us up and
Yeah, it's been great. Something I don't like to do, but this has been great. Thanks for making me feel welcome, and this has been pretty easy. And but I will just say, from our department standpoint, if you're a veteran, military service member, veteran, family member in Utah, go to our website, veterans.utah.gov. We have all sorts of information on there. On the right hand website, there's an events tab. So pretty much anything military connected that we know about in the state of Utah is on that events tab on
Is
that
that correct?
calendar on
Is
there.
that correct?
Veterans.utah.gov.
Oh,
add
you
an
want
S?
to a S? I mean, yeah. Okay, hold on.
Let me double check that real quick. Yeah, veterans.utah.gov. So, but yeah, go there. If you're coming to Utah from another state, go to our website, see what resources are available to you out there. And if you got any questions, please reach out. We'll take care of you. So,
Well, Kayle, we would love to have you on again at some point to
okay.
go into a little bit more details. Maybe go on with just Bryan or Bryan and me, and let's go into a little bit more details about your story because your story is very inspirational.
Okay.
You know, seeing how you have overcome, some of your own addictions and your own struggles, integrating into the community so fully, taking your the lessons that you've learned on camaraderie and kind of growing it into the community. It's beautiful and wonderful. And I'm sorry that we're kind of limited on time today,
No, that's okay.
but yeah, would love to have you come back and share more with us.
Okay. I'll take you up on that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, brother, and Semper Fi.
Yeah. I don't
I
know if you
appreciate.
want two Marines together, alone together, but
Oh man, it's always a good time, bro. I always welcome it. You
but
know.
you guys are a pleasure. Love your faith. Love what you do, and together we can make things better. So,
Absolutely. Thank you so much,
And
brother, for your time.
yep.
yeah, and I think it's wonderful that through the pain of losing people that you love, you are turning it into the the faith to help others through those struggles. And I think that is wonderful. I think that through all of this, even having your own faith crises up and down,
Yep.
that you are still staying strong and trusting that God has a plan for us all and being able to help people to find their own joys and their own reasons to stay around,
Thank
and
you.
it's just beautiful.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service, and thank you for your service still. All right, brother.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, that was an awesome interview, and I love that you got to do it in person. How cool is that? And I really do. I could appreciate a lot of what the Utah community is doing, and it's awesome that you became a part of the show, and now you're out there networking, and we literally get to watch it all unfold. And as you're bringing them on, I mean, it's a way of you connecting with them as well, and you're learning about
Yes.
other opportunities, other things that are available for not only you but your husband. So I love that. You know what I mean? Whether you can use it or not, it's something to put in, the list that that you've been kind of developing and stuff like that. It's amazing.
No, it's wonderful, and I'm so glad that he was able to be here, and I wanted to show you. So as he was leaving, he gave me a couple of things, and I wanted to show you
Ooh, we
guys.
love the gifts.
So the first thing is he gave me this coin.
Ooh,
Can't
yes,
really
yep.
see it that well, but it's a challenge coin,
Now,
you
in
know.
the Army, are you guys hard up on, challenge coins like in the Marine Corps?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
We're all
We
okay, okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
we do the coins. So with this one, it says, "With appreciation, service to veterans, to care for him who shall have borne the battle." And that's a quote by Abraham Lincoln. And so it just says the Utah Department of Veteran and Military Affairs, and it's really awesome. And then the other thing, he didn't get a chance to talk about it. He has had to leave, but he gave me a gun safe.
Oh my gosh.
So one of the things that they do through
Wow,
one
that
of the
is
things
freaking
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah. So one of the things they do for their with the department is they really, really encourage people to lock up their firearms at home because about 80% of the suicides tend to be by lethal means. And so he said, just make sure that you are locking up your firearms, making sure that that they are safe. And so he gave one of these for my husband and I. So that
I
was
love
so
that, man. I
wonderful.
love that. I mean, that's great, and, definitely in Utah, I'm sure a lot more people carry and have
Oh, a
weapons,
lot more.
right, so, I mean, even at Cash Coffee, they have a safe program where you can, if you're feeling some kind of way, there's an opportunity with no questions asked to store your weapons and stuff like that, so, I love that he did that. That's awesome, man. It's like,
Yeah.
shoot, you got
Yeah,
paid
that
for
was
him to
that
come
was
on the
really
show
sweet.
today.
Yeah,
Dang!
apparently. I
That's
also
so
gave him one
cool.
of my books to say thank you too,
That's
so
great. I love
that
that,
was fun.
and that's just, the great part about networking, and, what you could even do is, give them even a little bit more of a solid is, give them a testimonial, like, about how much you appreciate them, so something that they can start. I think that that's huge whenever you're running some kinda nonprofits or you have an organization, is to have testimonials from people that somehow appreciate what you're doing, and it's the hard part about it is a lot of people don't wanna hear about their compliments and stuff like that, but I think it's encouraging for others to see that they're trusted is right by the community as well, so having testimonials out there of, like, other veterans who have legit, like, felt comfortable, felt secure with this program, and they see that, they're like, "Alright, well, sheesh, damn, there's a handful of people that, really this worked real well for," and then also it could show him
Mhm.
as well how well, and he understands, like, "My gosh, I am helping people out there," right? Because a lot of times I think when you are, and I know this too from running a podcast show, there's a lot sometimes you start to kinda doubt yourself, like, you don't see as many listenings happening or you're not gaining as many followers. It could get a little discouraging, so any little thing that can help someone kind of thrust them to keep going, because that's what we need is for people like him to not give up on it, because there are one or two or a handful or even more people out there that can definitely use it, and we want him to keep going, and that's why I think that, like, I love doing this veteran showcase thing too, is right, because we want to keep these people feeling like there's something and that their art is being appreciated too. I know a lot of people, we do it for ourselves and things like that, but also sometimes when you put art out there, you want to see how others look at your art, right? Like you want to know, like, oh dang, someone else like appreciates that art like I do, or something to that effect.
Yeah. Well, I like that you are giving me that idea because something that I've been thinking about just on my own, right, is I was asked if I do my own podcast, just with my own stuff and I said no, but sometimes I do just like individual videos. So what I might do, I don't know if I have the energy to do like a full on, podcast, but I think I might like once a week just do some sort of little video, just either to shout out. I think that's a great idea to shout out one of the no, local nonprofits or read one of my poems or just kind of, share some of my own thoughts about recovery because I've got so much passion and whatnot about recovery from trauma and addictions. And so I might start doing that. I haven't decided quite yet,
I
but I
think
might
it's
start
good
doing
for you
that.
to do it actually. So hear me out on this, right? Like, I mean, I don't know how long I got left in me on doing this. I've been doing it for 4 years. I mean, as long as I feel like the numbers keep happening, I'm setting goals, and if we're hitting the goals, then we'll keep going. But there might be a time where I'm like, all right, man, and you're still at the beginning stages of this, right? Like, you're still at a level that you may want to start venturing into your own stuff. I'm here as your trainer too, right? As you're doing this, I'm kind of training you because I do expect for someday that you might have your own and or have one simultaneously to this. Like I do have I have divisive measures, right? And it doesn't hurt because you could be doving into a lot more things like the complex PTSDs and things like that. A lot of more of what you've really learned, and you can kind of dissect it and have little segments on those kind of things. And in the meanwhile, too, while we have the ability to do this, you can learn how to adapt, how to use StreamYard if that's a platform you so desire. And I can show you the ins and outs of how to, because I can start giving you a little bit of some more tasks as we're doing this too. So that way, eventually, you will be self efficient with the programs and everything. And then you will feel comfortable. Then you can make that actual choice for yourself. Like, you know what? I don't feel so intimidated by doing this on my own anymore because it is more comfortable sometimes to have that co-host, someone to bounce things off of, reactions to what you're saying. Because when you do the solo thing, you're just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you're a rambler like me, you can do that whole full circle thing 1,000 times over and talk about the same thing 5 different ways, you know? But, yeah, no, I think it's something that if it's a thought in your head, it's definitely something that you need to act on, right? And then I think, like you said, there's no rush into it. That you have the great ability to use resources like myself. You also know several other great podcasters out there. You're also taking the Calv Arts classes and things like that. So, like, you are honing in on how to be an amazing host, on your own, so I definitely think it's a vision. I will help you get there. And and now's the time to like think about a name for it, to think about your structure of how you want to do it. How long do you want it to kind of be? It great time to plan, right? There's no rush in it. There's no one's like expecting you to do this. It's just another thing to keep your mind, another hobby, another way to kind of expand your skills and also put your art out there in a different way. And you can start leaning out and touching and finding these artists and these other people and have them come in and talk about what drove them to be this way and, all those kind of things. So, yeah, I definitely obviously have had the experience with directing other podcast shows and doing my own me, myself, and I production and totally get it all. So, uh, there's like I said, there's no rush, but I think it's something that I will continue to help you drive that way as well. So that way, one day you're just like, you know what, bam, and the next thing you know, it's monetized. And the next thing you know, you're out there making mad money, and then you're the next Joe fucking Rogan, and all that. So, um,
Well, I go I
never,
go I go back and forth, and I appreciate your words of support, and I think it'll be fun to kind of see where it goes. My ultimate goal, like, I would like to do the, like, the video stuff. My ultimate goal at some point would be to be like a public speaker and to actually like go out and share and stuff like that. Like maybe do some TED Talks or stuff like that. I think that would be fun as well. So
well, this is
all of
all
this
warm up
all of
for
this
you.
is awesome. Yeah.
Absolutely, and this
Yeah.
is, getting you more I mean, if you were to look at when you first started versus now, you're a lot I felt like back then you almost felt like you had to be more rehearsed and not as much as yourself.
And loud.
Once you found out that you can be yourself and how to be yourself, it just naturally is coming to you now, right? Because you start to feel comfortable and you're like, "You know what? I know that, I watch Bryan, he fumbles over his words and everything. He's been doing this a lot longer than me. At least, you see that, hey, we're raw as you're gonna get. We are as human as you're gonna get on any other show. I don't go through and zip zap and all this stuff because that ain't human. Like if you guys just saw us all like and we're reading from some kind of a script and things like that, um, you can really get like
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Well, Brian,
yeah.
it's been fun doing this. Like I really have enjoyed, like, you really have helped me find my voice so much, and like that whole idea healing out loud. Like you said, look how far we've come. Like I started listening to my original podcast that I did with you a year ago, And hearing myself, there was still so much emotion and so much pain and so much
Mm,
frustration,
right.
and you gave me this venue to be able to get this stuff out and to finally realize, "Oh, there's even more layers that I realized," And so this has been so fun, and then hearing other people's stories, hearing your story has been so wonderful up until, today, hearing a story about somebody who is so huge in advocating and being there for other people, and this has just been such a beautiful journey this last year.
And you have been a really good example of, like, showing raw emotions. I mean, we go from laughing our asses off to some serious talk to some crying, I mean, and you're not afraid to show those raw emotions, right? You're not afraid to, if it's gonna come, you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna cry." You always just give us that, "Hey, it's coming,"
Yeah.
but you're not afraid to show those raw emotions, and, um I've seen you get way more comfortable with it all, right? And I can see the smile in your eyes. I just, I feel like you're definitely getting in your groove with it all, and you're feeling way more comfortable about it all. And you're learning. This is the great opportunity for you, like I said, to take this and then eventually, when the time comes, you have your own, platform, and then you take all the lessons learned and you just make the damn best one you can. And then, there's not a lot. There's in reality, I have not. I'm not going to say there's none, but just think about it. The first and foremost, there's a lot less females in the veteran community due to the sheer fact that a lot less females join the military than men, right? So there's probably 80% or more men in the military, which brings a very small percentage of females. So, with that being said, right, in that veteran community, the female population is already very small, okay? But I don't see a lot of voices coming out and speaking up for that sisterhood, or and kind of, you guys go through a lot of the same struggles. You guys go in a male dominant type of industry, right? And you're expected to sometimes compete at that level, right? And there's a lot of challenges that come with it, and sometimes the respect is hard earned as a female sometimes, and all the things. So I think that you have the ability to not only share your experiences, but also be a voice for that veteran female community, right? Someone out there that's, hey, you know what, ladies, let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, because we do need other female warriors to come after us. But let's talk about a little bit about the struggles, and let's talk about what can we project so maybe that culture changes, right? And because we're all speaking up, enough of us, and all of us are saying, "Hey, listen, joining and serving your country is a very valid thing to do. It's very honorable to do for your country." But some people are scared of, because of all the bad things or something that go on in there, which is not all units, right? I've talked to some females who never experienced any kind of bad, which I was like kind of shocked. Like, wow, you're telling me in 4 years you didn't have any kind of like discrimination or felt any kind of way? No, they treated me like a sister straight up, and there was no weirdness about it. And so I was like, that's outstanding. And like, those are the things that we want to share, and how that worked, and how did it feel to be part of a cohesive unit versus, like, now you're scared of your own security. Because I mean, when you talked about when you joined, right, you talked about feeling secure and feeling that you were kind of like, you felt like joining the army was going to be secure for you, and like a security blanket. Then you get in there and you find out, oh shit, I got to protect myself from people inside here too now. And
Yep.
that shouldn't really have to be a thing, right?
Yep.
But it is, and it needs to be talked about so that way we can fix it. So I think that you have a great opportunity to kind of talk about healing in certain ways, and also bring in a lot of, you can connect and bring in females and start saying, "Hey, let's hear your stories, ladies. Like, come on. Where you
You
guys all at?
you just reminded me. So I was thinking about bringing this into our listeners as well, and the something that popped into my mind the other day, I met a lady called, oh, hold on. Um, I think it's, I don't wanna butcher her name. Let me look it up really quick. I have
Yeah.
her in my Facebook now. But I went to a PTSD, a PTSD, event the other day through the Battle Forged Foundation, and I met this woman. Her name is Janae Sergio. And Janae Sergio, oh, you can't really see. Anyways,
Yeah.
so she published a book about her experience with military sexual trauma. And she also just published a new book about becoming an advocate. And she works for Grunt Style. She works with the VFW. She goes and travels around the country, and she is a face for VFW and Grunt Style. And she she has agreed to come on our podcast. I don't know when that's going to be, but I'm super excited to have her on there. But her whole thing is like sharing the story so that other people know that they can share theirs. And I really loved meeting her. But anyway, she's a positive, really positive example. Janae Sergio, Ganae Sergio, Sergio. If you get a chance, look her up. Check out her books. They look incredible. I bought the Advocate one. I started reading it, and so far it's awesome. But I wanted to say, kind of like her getting out there and sharing her voice, me getting out here on the podcast. If you are listening to this and you are ready to get your story out, whether it has to do with military sexual trauma, deployment trauma, PTSD, just sharing your own story with addictions or trauma or military, before, during, or after the military, whatever it is, especially if you're a female. And yes, especially if you're a male too. But let's get you guys on the podcast. Come share your story. Go to sliderbabe.com and get registered. We would love to have you on here. And if you are not ready to share your story, then email it to us, marie@sliderbabe.com or everyday's a Saturday 365 at yahoo.com. Please, please, please share us your story, because as Bryan has given me this place to share my story, and I'm deciding what to do as I keep moving forward, and as Bryan has been sharing his story, it's just been wonderful to be able to get our voices out there. So please come to us, come share your story, come get on the show. We've had a few women on ours, but not as many, and we would love to have more. So
It's a lot
come
harder
heal
to
out loud.
find. Yeah, it's a lot harder to find willing female veterans out there. And sometimes that's due to the fact of their bad experience, and some of them have disassociated themselves. But that's a problem. They're living in silence a little bit, right? And it's uncomfortable. It is sometimes to share our own experience. You don't know who might be listening or watching at some point at where they're at in their life, that resonates with them, and legit what you say or your experience may turn on a light bulb, and just by chance knock someone off into a different trajectory than what they were on, right? And so the more that we have the outlets for people to use their voice and to talk, that's something that our country's starting to lack, right? Is the ability to learn how to communicate face to face or anything like that, or hear people out. Um, it's these are things that we need, and that's why I'm all about sharing other brothers and sisters podcasts as well, because they're out there trying to they have the same mission. They're out there trying to get people's stories out there. We want to document all of these great stories. There's so many different podcasts out there that and just because we're all veteran podcasters, it doesn't mean that our shows are all the same. We all have different personalities. We all have different uh, sets of questions in our head. We have different ways of running our shows.
Different
Uh,
focuses.
you're definitely going to get a different spill, and We could even have the same guest on, and it will be a completely different show. You might have a lot of the same storylines, but you may learn a little bit more during this one or that one based on even sometimes the difference in having a guest. Like for me, like if I had another Marine on, I know how to talk Marine. I know a lot more about the Marine Corps. I know exactly how to ask questions about the Marine Corps. I know how to relate my questions kind of to different services, but when I ask it, sometimes they're like, we don't do that, or we don't say that, or, it's just, we do have our different lingos and things like that. So, like I said, if it could be a different show for even just having a different branch of host. One person could be in Army, one person could be in the Marines, and they have the same exact guest on, but it's a complete different conversation between the two hosts. So, and believe it or not, I know everybody loves music. I'm going to show you guys by this veteran showcase that there's rappers, country, rock, you name it. There is a genre of music that you can go listen to, and you're supporting a brother or sister, and they're playing the exact kind of music you listen to. I got blown away by having the opportunity to DJ on Veteran Voice Radio. This was like about probably 2 years ago now. But I learned that this community has so many different artists and songwriters that we were able to build up an entire country station and a rock station just solely on only veteran musicians. So, yeah, I'm just excited that we're going to try to get as many voices as we can out there, whether it's your platform is singing, your platform is podcasting, your platform is taking pictures, something, whatever please bring it to us, guys. Let us share it with everybody. So we're going to go ahead and get this going, and I appreciate everybody, though. You guys constantly helping us out and getting the show out. We're ready to call this one, and excited again. Marie, you've been getting us some amazing guests, and you always think like, gosh, damn, how do we top off this guest from the next guest? And you just keep bringing them. You know what I mean?
It's not about topping off. It's just about highlighting different people's stories, and I love it, and it's
No,
fun.
absolutely.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you once again, and y'all have an amazing day out there. You know how we say on the show, don't let the day kick your ass. Make sure you're out there kicking it. We'll see you guys on the next one. All right.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.